I, Winston Leonard Spencer Churchill, entered this world on November 30th, 1874, at Blenheim Palace, a place steeped in history and grandeur. This magnificent estate, with its sprawling gardens and opulent rooms, was a fitting birthplace for someone destined to play a significant role in the annals of history. My father, Lord Randolph Churchill, was a prominent figure in Conservative politics. He was a man of great intellect and ambition, whose career in the British Parliament was marked by both triumphs and controversies. His influence on my early life was profound, shaping my views on leadership and governance. My mother, Jenny Jerome, was an American socialite known for her beauty and wit. She was a woman of remarkable charm and intelligence, whose social connections spanned both sides of the Atlantic. Her American spirit and determination were qualities that I would come to admire and emulate in my own life. This blend of British aristocracy and American spirit would come to define my life. The fusion of these two distinct cultures provided me with a unique perspective, one that would influence my approach to both personal and political challenges. From a young age, I was surrounded by privilege and influence. The halls of Blenheim Palace echoed with the footsteps of statesmen and dignitaries, and I was often in the company of some of the most influential figures of the time. This environment instilled in me a sense of duty and a desire to make a difference in the world. Yet my early years were not without their challenges. Despite the grandeur of my surroundings, I often felt isolated and struggled to find my place. The expectations placed upon me were immense, and I grappled with the pressure to live up to my family's legacy. I struggled in school, finding traditional education stifling. The rigid structure and rote learning methods did not suit my restless spirit. I was often at odds with my teachers, who found my independent thinking and questioning nature difficult to manage. My relationship with my father was complex, marked by admiration and a longing for his approval. Lord Randolph was a towering figure in my life, and I yearned to earn his respect. However, his demanding nature and high expectations often left me feeling inadequate and striving to prove myself. Despite these hurdles, I possessed an unyielding determination, a trait that would serve me well throughout my life. I was resolute in my ambitions and driven by a desire to overcome any obstacles in my path. This tenacity would become a defining characteristic of my personality. Even as a child, I was drawn to history and the stories of great leaders. The tales of valor and strategic brilliance captivated my imagination, and I spent countless hours immersed in books about military campaigns and political intrigue. I devoured books about military campaigns and political intrigue. These stories fueled my passion for leadership and my desire to make a mark on the world. I was particularly fascinated by the lives of historical figures who had shaped the course of nations through their vision and courage. These early passions ignited within me a desire to leave my mark on the world, to shape history rather than simply read about it. I was determined to follow in the footsteps of the great leaders I so admired, to carve out a legacy that would be remembered for generations to come. Little did I know then the tumultuous path that lay ahead, a path that would test my mettle and call upon every ounce of my resilience. The challenges and triumphs that awaited me would shape not only my destiny but also the fate of nations. My journey was just beginning, and the lessons of my early years would serve as the foundation for the remarkable life that lay ahead. My formal education took me to Harrow School, where my rebellious streak continued. I excelled at history and English, but found other subjects tedious. My time at Harrow, though academically unremarkable, instilled in me a sense of discipline and the importance of perseverance. It was during these formative years that I began to hone my skills in writing and public speaking, talents that would later prove invaluable. After Harrow, I entered the Royal Military College, Sandhurst. Military life, with its emphasis on strategy, leadership, and physical courage, resonated deeply with me. I graduated from Sandhurst and embarked on a military career that would take me to the far corners of the British Empire. I served in India, Sudan, and South Africa, witnessing firsthand the complexities of war and the human cost of conflict. These experiences, though often harrowing, forged within me a deep sense of duty and a profound respect for the courage of the ordinary soldier. My military experiences fueled a growing interest in politics. The discipline, strategy, and leadership I learned on the battlefield were invaluable. They instilled in me a sense of duty and a desire to serve my country in a broader capacity. The camaraderie and the challenges I faced alongside my fellow soldiers gave me a unique perspective on the needs and struggles of the common man. In 1900, I entered the House of Commons as a Conservative, following in my father's footsteps. My father, Lord Randolph Churchill, had been a prominent figure in British politics, and his legacy loomed large over my early career. I was determined to make my own mark, to carve out a path that was uniquely mine. The House of Commons was a place of great debate and decision-making, and I was eager to contribute to the shaping of our nation's future. However, I soon found myself at odds with the Conservative Party's stance on social reform and free trade. The party's reluctance to embrace change and address the pressing social issues of the day was a source of great frustration for me. I believed that a nation could only be strong if it took care of all its citizens, not just the privileged few. This ideological clash led me to question my place within the party. Driven by a strong social conscience, I crossed the floor in 1904, joining the Liberal Party. This was not a decision I took lightly. It was a bold move, one that required courage and conviction. But I was resolute in my belief that the Liberal Party's progressive policies were more aligned with my vision for a fairer and more just society. The move was met with both criticism and praise, but I knew it was the right choice for me and for the causes I championed. As a Liberal, I championed social reforms aimed at improving the lives of the working class. I traveled the length and breadth of the country, speaking at rallies and meeting with ordinary citizens. Their stories of hardship and resilience inspired me to fight for change. I believed that every individual deserved the opportunity to live a life of dignity and security, and I was determined to use my position to make that a reality. I advocated for unemployment insurance, old age pensions, and a range of other social safety nets. These were not just policies on paper, they were lifelines for people struggling to make ends meet. I worked tirelessly to build support for these initiatives, often facing fierce opposition from those who saw them as too radical or too costly. But I was undeterred, driven by the belief that a society is judged by how it treats its most vulnerable members, and regulations to improve working conditions in factories. The Industrial Revolution had transformed Britain, but it had also brought about harsh and often dangerous working environments. I pushed for legislation that would ensure safer and more humane conditions for workers. This was not just about improving productivity, it was about recognizing the inherent worth and dignity of every worker. These efforts, though met with resistance from some quarters, reflected my deep-seated belief in social justice and the responsibility of government to care for its most vulnerable citizens. I engaged in countless debates and negotiations, always striving to find common ground and build consensus. It was a challenging and often exhausting process, but one that I believed was essential for the progress of our nation. My early years in Parliament were marked by a whirlwind of activity. I was constantly on the move, attending meetings, drafting legislation, and speaking in the House. The pace was relentless, but I thrived on the energy and the sense of purpose. Every day brought new challenges and new opportunities to make a difference. I served in various ministerial positions, including President of the Board of Trade and Home Secretary. Each role brought its own set of responsibilities and challenges. As President of the Board of Trade, I focused on promoting economic growth and innovation. As Home Secretary, I tackled issues of law and order, always with an eye towards fairness and justice. I poured my energy into tackling complex issues, from reforming the prison system to navigating the often turbulent waters of industrial relations. Prison reform was a particular passion of mine. I believed that our penal system should focus on rehabilitation rather than mere punishment. I introduced measures aimed at improving conditions for prisoners and providing them with opportunities for education and training. These experiences provided invaluable lessons in the art of governance and the importance of pragmatism in achieving political goals. I learned that while ideals and principles are important, they must be balanced with practical considerations. The ability to compromise and adapt is crucial in the complex world of politics. These lessons would serve me well in the years to come as I continued my journey in public service. The outbreak of World War I in 1914 presented a new and daunting challenge. The world was plunged into a conflict of unprecedented scale, with nations mobilizing their forces and resources for a war that would reshape the course of history. The initial enthusiasm and patriotic fervor soon gave way to the grim realities of trench warfare, as the Western Front became a stalemate of mud, blood, and barbed wire. As First Lord of the Admiralty, I was responsible for overseeing the Royal Navy. This position placed me at the heart of Britain's war effort, where I was tasked with ensuring that our naval forces were prepared to meet the challenges of modern warfare. The Royal Navy was a symbol of British power and prestige, and its role in the conflict was crucial. I believed that Britain's naval power could help break the stalemate on the Western Front. The idea was to use our naval superiority to open up new fronts and create opportunities for a decisive breakthrough. The Western Front was bogged down in a brutal and static trench warfare, and we needed a bold strategy to change the dynamics of the conflict. This belief led me to champion the ill-fated Gallipoli campaign, an attempt to capture the Dardanelles Strait and knock the Ottoman Empire out of the war. The strategic importance of the Dardanelles was clear. Controlling this narrow waterway would allow the Allies to open a supply route to Russia and potentially force the Ottoman Empire to capitulate. The Gallipoli campaign, however, proved to be a costly failure. The initial naval assault failed to achieve its objectives, and the subsequent land invasion faced insurmountable challenges. The campaign quickly bogged down into a brutal and bloody struggle, with both sides suffering heavy casualties. The landings were met with fierce resistance from the Turkish forces. The Ottoman defenders, led by capable commanders, were well prepared and determined to repel the invaders. The Allied troops faced a well-entrenched enemy, and the fighting was intense and relentless. The terrain was unforgiving, and the campaign was plagued by logistical problems. The rugged and inhospitable landscape made it difficult to move troops and supplies, and the Allies struggled to maintain their positions. The harsh conditions took a toll on the soldiers, who faced not only the enemy but also the elements. Despite the bravery of the Allied troops, the campaign ended in a costly evacuation. The decision to withdraw was a painful one, but it was clear that continuing the fight would only lead to more unnecessary loss of life. The evacuation was a complex and dangerous operation, but it was carried out with remarkable efficiency. The Gallipoli campaign was a defining moment in my life, a stark reminder of the human cost of war and the limits of even the best laid plans. The failure of the campaign weighed heavily on me, and I was acutely aware of the sacrifices made by so many. It was a humbling experience that underscored the importance of careful planning and the need to consider all possible outcomes. I accepted full responsibility for the campaign's failure and resigned from the Admiralty. It was a difficult decision, but I believed it was the right thing to do. The experience taught me valuable lessons about leadership, accountability, and the complexities of military strategy. The weight of this experience stayed with me, a constant reminder of the importance of careful planning and the need for humility in the face of adversity. It shaped my approach to future challenges and reinforced my commitment to learning from past mistakes. The Gallipoli campaign was a painful chapter in my life, but it also provided me with insights that would guide me in the years to come.